religions of one verse. What is the foundation of prosperity theory? There are several religions because their leaders like to choose personal positions, and just as there can only be one truth, those that are different from this truth are in the lie. But what would that be like? We must first understand that the Bible is a book, and this book contains pieces of truth that must be assembled. The truth is something extremely broad in that no man has the capacity to know it completely, but in parts. And each part alone is not the truth, but in that way one must look for other parts to have a greater understanding of the truth. But churches take a verse from the Bible and put their position of ideas. And that's a tool of Satan, not because I'm bad-mouthing the person, but because the Bible says that's the tool. In Matthew 4-3 we have an account where Jesus was in the wilderness and the tempter appeared to him and told Jesus to turn the stones into bread. See that Jesus was hungry, and it would be logical that he turned the stones into bread to eat, since he had already turned water into wine. But the truth is not partial, it has an organized set. And Jesus said in Matthew 4-4, that it was written that man shall not live by bread alone but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. But why did Jesus say this? Notice that Jesus was talking about the word that proceeds from the mouth of God. We can read in another verse in John 6:38 where Jesus said, which says Jesus came to do God's will. Thus, the use of the term proceeds from the mouth of God defines that if God told Jesus to transform the stones he would transform. But the concept would be that Jesus would obey God's will, not the tempter's will. But we can still read in Matthew 4-6, where Jesus is taken to a very high place, and the tempter says to Jesus, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from here. For it is written, He will give orders to His angels concerning you, and with their hands they will hold you, lest you stumble over any stone." Here we have the example of one-verse religions. It takes an organization of verses so that you are not deceived, as the tempter was trying to do. The tempter quoted a verse from God's Word, but Jesus responded, in Matthew 4-7, that one should not tempt the Lord God. And that's something that a lot of religions always do, they try to God. An example of this is prosperity theory. In prosperity theory, defines that a minister can define a person who receives prosperity, usually monetary. The big question of this theory refers that those who do not have prosperity is why they are in sin. But if we read the verse of Matthew 8:20, where Jesus mentions that he has nowhere to lay his head, defining that whoever wanted to walk with Jesus would be poor, because Jesus would not have monetary wealth. And then we have the verse in John 16:33 where Jesus says that in the world his servants would have afflictions. In fact, there are texts and more texts, biblical, which define that monetary wealth is not the foundation of God's blessing, and that those who followed the biblical truths were usually very poor monetarily speaking. What we have here is again the use of a verse, without looking at the other verses. Prosperity theory uses a biblical verse, for example, from Philippians 4:19, that says, "My God, according to His riches, will supply all your needs in glory, through Christ Jesus." But people forget to read the verse correctly, as meeting the need depends on who judges the need. Jesus, for example, did not eat for many days, and how is measured need defined? Thus, there is a big problem in the theory of prosperity, because the person determines the need by his will, when the servant of God follows the will of God, and so God determines what is need. In prosperity theory what we see is that people define in their actions a God who is a servant, when the real is a God who is Lord. We can see a text in Matthew 21:22 that says, And whatever you ask for in prayer, if you believe, you will receive. The use of this verse looks like the verse that Satan used to make Jesus jump from a great height. How does everything anyone asks for does he receive? So if he asks to become God and destroy evil, then will he receive? See, it makes no sense to use the verse that way. Remember that verses need a complement to be analyzed correctly. For it would fall into the same concept that Jesus could jump, for the angels would save him. But Jesus did not jump because he said you will not tempt the Lord your God, which is a complement to the text used by the enemy. In 1 John 5:14 we can find the complement. And this is the confidence we have in him, that if we ask for something, according to his will, he hears us. See, the complement defines that God hears us when we ask for something according to God's will. So, the everything is linked, in everything that is God's will. And that way the text makes sense. Usually the opposites of the scriptures use isolated verses to deny the scriptures, which clearly demonstrates biblical ignorance. In fact, all studies, whether biblical or not, have to be analyzed in different ways to be clearly understood. Being a one-sentence master only determines the extent of one's lack of knowledge and the grandeur of an individual's arrogance. So are one-verse doctrines and churches. If deeper and more detailed studies were accepted, even contrary to popular wills, contrary doctrines would cease to exist.
If you are looking for more content from different areas, visit the reformadorstad.com website. News and detailed content can be found with system of research and organization of text and video.